Hello, everyone, and welcome to In the Can. We're on day 2 of our weekend coverage, day 3 of our film festival coverage. I'm your host, Christine Napier, here with Kimberly Perot. Sunday, January 23rd, and we are excited to talk with more filmmakers and actors all around the world about some excellent films that you can watch throughout the virtual festival right now. Kimberly, what are you looking forward to today?
You know, I am so excited because I'm covering such a variety of movies and documentaries, so it's just going to be exciting. I've got some really special visual movies that we'll be talking about, so I'm just very excited about it.
I echo that. I'm actually going to be talking about 2 documentaries that are in the film. They're getting quite a lot of buzz, in fact. One is Last Flight Home. It's about the documentarian's father and his life and his death as well. Very powerful film. The other one is called I Didn't See You There, and this filmmaker is in a wheelchair, and it really explores disabilities and our world and what it's like to be in that world for him. So very much looking forward to that.
Wow, that sounds so amazing and so intense. I can't wait to hear you talk about it.
And we also are going to be talking about some VR experiences, and the Blackhouse Foundation will be joining us virtually to also tell us all of everything that they're doing throughout the festival. So you're right, a great variety.
It is really, it's going to be a great way to close out this Sunday and the weekend.
Absolutely, and we'll be back tomorrow with more In the Can coverage. Very much looking forward to that. But in the meantime, let's take a look at what we'll be talking about today and our beautiful morning. It's a bit cold out there, but dry, and I've just been really hearing great things about getting out on the slope. So if you're heading out to one of our great resorts after the show, it should be a very nice day and a good experience. So on today's show, up first, Kimberly will be speaking with Midwives.
I'm very excited about that documentary.
Followed by the VR experience I just mentioned, so that will be an interesting interview as well. And then Last Flight Home is that film that is about a really famous individual's death and his life, so very powerful there. Followed by even more great things. Emergency is getting a lot of buzz. It opened the festival this year. It was on opening night. You can still see it. Of course, it has more screenings, but many people are talking about that film, and Kimberly will be speaking with them. Blackhouse Foundation, as I just mentioned, will also be joining us virtually to talk about how they support filmmakers during the festival. And then I Didn't See You There, which really examines disabilities in 2022. So that's what's happening right now on our show. Another beautiful shot of our great outdoors. Have you been able to get out this weekend?
I did. I got out on the slopes yesterday. It was very fun and exciting. The weather was perfect. You know, I think I might have gotten a little bit of a suntan.
Oh,
can't tell now though.
How's the snow, since we haven't had a lot?
You know, it was good. It was good. You know, we definitely are due for a good powder day, but I had a blast out there, and it wasn't too crowded, which was nice.
That's really good to hear. So we've got a great show, though, coming your way. I hope that you'll settle in and stick with us, because you are going to be very interested to hear these conversations that we are about to have. So we're going to take a quick break and get right back with much more right after this.
Welcome back to the Sunday morning edition of In the Can. I am here today with an incredible documentary from a wonderful female director. It's called Midwives. Snow, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Very excited to hear this story. Now, this is a story about a Buddhist midwife as well as her Muslim apprentice. So if you wouldn't mind just sharing a bit where the story stemmed from and the process of making the film.
Okay, this is a story about 2 midwives, one Buddhist and one Muslim, working together in a Rohingya Muslim village, western part of Myanmar. These 2 midwives provide medical service to Rohingya community. As you all know that in 2012, there is a Rohingya conflict happened in my country. So Rohingya population, they have to flee to Bangladesh. 1 million of Rohingya flee to Bangladesh, but there are 60,000 of Rohingya Muslims living together with a Buddhist community. So I follow 2 midwife story and how they coexisted together, and they are helping together for Rohingya community. That's how I started.
Incredible. So what inspired this story for you, and how would you personally relate to it?
I was born in Rakhine State, western part of Myanmar, because I'm also from the same region. So when I was little, two communities were friends, like, Buddhist and Muslim. They lived together and they were always friends. So when this Rohingya conflict happened, they don't talk each other. They don't talk anymore. They fight each other. So that was like all these hatreds coming out like suddenly. So I was really hard to believe that how all these happened, and also for me also very difficult to understand what is all these chaos happen in my own country, in my own state. So I really wanted to understand my own community with all these like conflicts in my country. That's how I started for this project.
Wonderful. Now, it sounds like there is a lot of conflict going on, and that is a bit of the base of this documentary. What would you say were the challenges you faced while filming this and creating the storyline?
Oh, the challenges was, being as a documentary filmmaker in my country is not very easy. Like making documentary is so hard to make. But like this Rohingya conflict that happened in that region, it was not really allowed to make any documentary in that region. So when we were shooting in the village, it was like a lot of military checkpoint, and they, because they don't want any journalists coming to that area. But anyway, like I went with my cameraman. It was a lot of challenges for us because it was not easy. We always have to hide our equipment, and we were working like very low profile in that region. That was very much challenging for us.
Wow. That sounds very, very complicated. So how did you find your contacts, your subjects, as you were able to make this film? As you mentioned, you had to hide your equipment. So how did you begin to build the network to put the film together?
My auntie and some of my relatives living in that area. So because of my aunt, I found this extraordinary women in that region. So like I have like I'm very lucky that I found like very trustful tuk-tuk driver. So he is always helping us. He always, helping us like hide our equipment under his car. And yes, that was a kind of like protection for us. Also, two of my midwives, they were always protecting me. For example, like Rohingya Muslim midwife and also Buddhist midwife, they always tell me that I'm the related of two midwives. So that like people were always like, oh, this is I'm one of my their family member. That's why it's kind of like it's safe for me somehow.
Wonderful. Now, talk to me about how long it took you to start this project and then go through the editing, post-production, and then the completion of it.
So for shooting 5 years, and for edit 1 year, in Myanmar and also Thailand and Germany, because of as you all know that in military coup in my country, I cannot my editor cannot come to Myanmar. Also, I'm trying to work with him in Canada. Also, it was not easy. So we were editing in Thailand for some months. Then I trying to get a visa to come here. Now I'm in Germany to finish like post-production process in Berlin. So it was taking so long. For filming is like around 5 years. I follow two midwife story because when I started this story was because I wanted to find out for coexisting together two midwife, but then like along the journey, so many things happened. Like a civil war happened in that village. So after that, not only civil war, also like a military coup happened in Myanmar. So the story is all about you can understand about what is really happening in Myanmar.
Wow. Now you mentioned the Civil War happened. Talk to us about how that delayed the filming for you. You know, what were the emotions you were experiencing as you knew you were in the midst of this project?
Because I was not expecting about this civil war or my story. So when it was happened, like for example, like we were in the village when the shooting started between two Myanmar military and Rakhine Army, they were fighting each other. So my character, they want me to leave as soon as possible from the village. Also, people who, also my relative, they were always like, oh, okay, you should leave now, otherwise you will get arrested. Or because like even though I'm from that region, but I'm not living there. I live in another part of Myanmar. So yes, it was a kind of like a lot of like anxious and like to worry about, not only for me, also my cameraman, because this is about my project, but I also want to stay for both of us. So we somehow like it's always panicking like when we are shooting. We are always worried about something might happen. So it's not only for me, also my character also worry about our shooting and the story.
Well, I am excited for viewers to see this film and the emotions and the camaraderie that will be budding from it. So tell us one last question. What do you hope viewers get out of watching this film?
I'm mostly concerned about women in the conflict zone and how they are able uh, to live life. And also like women, even like women in the conflict region, they don't really feel like, they are victim, but they have also their dreams and hope for their life. So I think that will be really related to women in the war.
Wonderful. Well, Snow, thank you so much for joining us today on In the Can here at Park City. We are so excited for you. The film will be premiering at the World Documentary section of Sundance. Head over to the website for viewing times. We'll be right back after this. We are back. I am really thrilled to be chatting with our next guest because we are entering a brand new category. It is the New Frontier category where we'll be speaking about a virtual reality film, Diagnosia. Very excited for you all to see this clip, so we are going to check it out right now.
September 1st. Dawn. Whistles entered my sleep. It's my parents. They walked towards me, smiling. They're getting me out. I jumped up in excitement, but could not move my arm. September 8th. I couldn't sleep last night. A new inmate came. We called him Da Xuesheng. A newbie, didn't know the rules. He fought, got beaten, and was thrown into the monitor therapy room until morning. At noon, he broke the light bulb and cut his vein open. September 15th, therapist wanted me to monitor Da Xuesheng for her. If I wanted to get out of here, it's crucial to gain the trust of therapists. So, should I help her?
Wow, that is such an emotional clip of this film. I am here right now with Mentai, Ethan, and Lemon, the artists, developers, directors, and composers of this film. Thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Oh, thank you very much.
Wonderful to have you all here. Now, this story is very fascinating and just an eye-opening reality. Now, Mentai, if you wouldn't mind, tell me a bit about this story and how you came up with the creation of it.
The story is bring me back. It's about my memory back to 2007. Against my will, my parents put me in this internet addiction rehab center in Beijing. I was 16 and faced the years of complicated family conflicts. So at that time, I was using video game as a way to escape those family conflicts. But my parents believe that it's really bad behaviors. So they blamed everything on the video games. And at that time, I also be labeled as a internet addicts.
Wow. Now, Ethan, how did you get connected and what made you decide that you wanted to help tell this story?
Yeah, so I know both Lemon and Meng Tai from art school, and worked with them for a few years without ever knowing this story. But we explored a bunch of different mediums. We're very excited by VR and other emerging things as a way to tell stories, and then discovering kind of this perfect thing, which has become all the more relevant because of a renewed crackdown in China on sort of semi-antisocial behavior. It's been a great opportunity to be able to really tell this story and show kind of the really a dark side of some of the things, and about trying to classify things as problems and stick them away where people can't see them. So we're trying to kind of bring a little bit more light to these things and tell that through Meng Tai's personal experience.
It's definitely quite an emotional film to watch. Now, Lemon, you were responsible for the music as well as some of the artistry in this film. Can you tell me what you wanted viewers to experience as we married those two mediums?
Yeah, so in making the music, I think I took quite an unconventional approach. I actually didn't use an instrument, but instead I used found sounds and algorithmically processed samples and voices to create this sort of haunting soundscape that kind of moves with the audience as they navigate this space of violence and indoctrination. Yes.
Now, Meng Tai, why did you choose virtual reality to tell your story and to share with the world the things that you went through personally?
I want to connect with audience to these social issues through a sensory immersion and embodiment in the memory that I experienced in firsthand. So I want audience to experience the situation through my first perspective.
Wonderful. Now, Ethan, tell me a bit about your journey into virtual reality filmmaking.
Yeah, so I've been playing around with VR for a number of years now. Just been interested in any way to get into it, starting kind of with smartphones and other things. But I think what's really fascinating about it is that it's taking a lot of the conventions of documentary, of filmmaking, and combining that with certain kind of interactive and generally things that have been learned from the video game world. So telling a story still kind of uses the same fundamental levers, but people are really kind of figuring it out all over again. It's still very early days and very exciting. So I think all of us have been really interested in kind of alternate virtual reality things. I made an early piece that kind of tried to break a little bit of immersion, just tell things through pictures rather than through immersion. Now, Lemon and Meng Tai really playing around with something that is about sort of being trapped in a virtual space while you are in fact trapped in a virtual space. There's a lot of really interesting things. And I think all of us pretty much agree, though, that you can't just rely on immersion alone, right? If we were able to take high-end camera rigs and stick it in the actual internet addiction camp, that would not be the same. That probably, that would not make it a better piece. What matters is that we're really trying to use the best in sound design, the best in experience design, and really just focus on the storytelling and the narrative and making everything connect so that the user can really have an artistic experience to start to understand what this was all about for Meng Tai.
This story is just so incredible, and to know that it is a true story makes the experience even more impactful. Now, Lemon, tell me one last question. What do you expect and hope that viewers will feel after they watch this film?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is a very important issue. We want to bring more awareness to this issue because even as if right now, there are still a lot of kids being sent into this military-run or semi-military style internet addiction camp, and a lot of quite horrible things are happening in these places. So we hope to start a conversation about this issue. And also we want to raise question about the diagnosis of internet addiction. We think that such diagnosis often neglects the social environment of the individuals and kind of often put the blame on individuals for what is perhaps underlying social, cultural, or political problems that needs more often collective solution to address. So yeah, that's what we're hoping to convey. And yeah, also just really excited to show this piece to the Sundance audience and hope for more people to see it.
Manti, tell us where our viewers can experience this VR film and your story.
The film is completely online now. People can join the spaceship at Sundance New Frontier section, and it will link to my port. So it's free. People can download it and experience by their own.
Well, I thank you three for joining us and Manti for sharing your story. I do hope that the viewers tune in. Again, head to the Sundance.org website to check out this incredible film. We will be right back after this break.
Welcome back. Right now we are focusing on the film Hatching. It's premiering in the Midnight category at the Sundance Film Festival. Here to tell me all about this really great, creepy, horrific, but very deep actually film is director Hannah Bergholm, and joining her is Sophia and Siri. They both star in this film. So excited to have them all here with us today from all over the world. Let's start with you, Hannah. Tell me more about this film.
Yes, this is a horror drama film, and it's about a young girl who has a influencer vlogger mother who really wants to portray the perfect image of her life and family, and especially of her talented gymnast daughter. And this daughter finds a strange egg and starts hatching it, and out comes something that the mother wouldn't want to see in her daughter.
And Siri, you star as the daughter. Tell me more about your character, about some of the pressure she's feeling and how that likely leads to her decisions in this film.
Eli että millainen sun mielestä se Tinja-henkilö on ja millaisia paineita silloin? Sä voit kertoa sun.
Se on ehkä vähän sellainen ujo ja sitten no, yrittää miellyttää aina sen äitiä ja ei sitten uskalla näyttää mitään sen oikeita tunteita. Sitten sen Allin kanssa pystyy olemaan ihan oma itsensä.
Yeah, so this Tinja character is very shy and really wants to please her mother, and nothing she does is never enough for the mother, but with the creature Alli, who she hatches, so with Alli she can really be herself.
And Sophia, you star as the mother in this film who also feels a lot of pressure. She has this popular blog. She wants to portray a perfect family, which is very relatable. Tell me more.
Yeah, so she has this blog and she wants everything to look perfect and she wants everyone to act perfect. She wants to really give the world this beautiful picture of her family. And she has been some sort of ice skater herself, but she has had an injury. So now she's like reliving her dream through her daughter, but really puts a lot of pressure on that poor young daughter.
And how did you relate to that character, Sophia? Were you able to draw inspiration from? And I feel like there were some vulnerabilities there that many people could understand.
Yeah, someone once told me that first you have to get to know the character and then you have to be able to defend your character. And that part was really, really hard for me. I have 3 daughters myself, and sometimes I had to stop, after Hannah said cut, I had to ask for forgiveness, to tell Siri that I didn't really mean this, because Siri was really young and hadn't done much acting before. So I felt really, really bad for saying a lot of the things I said. And so it was really hard do that role. But also I find, which is horrible to admit, but I did find some characteristics in this mother that I also have, this urge or need to control my kids. And I think a lot of parents will be able to, how do you say it? To find those sides in themselves.
I definitely did as a mom, and sometimes it was a bit terrifying because of what happens in this film. Hannah, where did you find inspiration? What are some origin stories that gave you the idea for this film? There's so many different layers and dimensions that I loved, but it also reminded me of some classic literature, to be honest.
Yes, I really wanted this story to be kind of modern fable. So I wanted to have it to have kind of subtle feelings of, for example, grim tales or things like that in, for example, in the landscape or in the set decoration. But really the whole story and all the themes started from one sentence that our screenwriter had. So our screenwriter, Ilja Rautsi, told me that he has an idea that a boy hatches an evil doppelganger out of an egg. And from that one sentence, we started to develop the story, and I wanted to change the lead character into a girl. And then I started to think that, okay, if somebody's hatching something, it means that she wants to hide some elements in her character. And this theme of motherhood came to this film. So this one sentence was really the starting point where everything started in this film.
Siri, what was it like acting opposite of a creature? Was that hard to do?
Että olisi vaikeaa se ilmiö.
I think first it was a bit, but then I got used to it, and it wasn't. Well, you just thought it was a real person and tried to act.
And you're very convincing. You definitely bond with this creature, and you see some ways that maybe the mother in your life, that figure, isn't fulfilling your needs, and you're kind of passing that on to this creature. Sophia, how did you feel that this film really portrayed this kind of twisted idea of motherhood, but also these different layers and dimensions that really made this young character that Siri plays so well make some tragic decisions?
Well, as I said, being a mom myself, I do go through these thoughts on a daily basis, like what kind of traces I leave on my kids, and social media, what kind of role does that play in our life and our family? And I'm so impressed that through horror, the genre horror, we can tell this beautiful story. And I think even people who don't appreciate horror movies or even like them, I think everyone can get something from this movie and identify themselves with some aspects in this movie, even this horrible mother.
And Hannah, as the director of this film, what were some of the challenges about this horror genre, and are you planning on doing more horror films?
Well, I actually, I've always been a person who is afraid of horror films. So, but because I've always been afraid of them, I found that dealing with fear in this film is very fascinating. And actually, it was very enjoyable to make horror film, because in horror film, some of the insides of the character can get kind of external form. And of course, one very big challenge was to really physically create this monster creature, and that was a cool challenge in this film. But yes, I'm equally interested as a director in drama and horror films, but I am actually developing another horror drama film at the moment. So yeah, there's a lot of fascinating things in this genre.
Oh, I'm excited to see that as well. Don't want to miss out on Hatching, just an incredible, terrifying story with many layers and dimensions. It makes comments about motherhood, creation, and also has this really terrifying storyline. And the ending is something that you don't want to miss out on. So it premieres at the Sundance Film Festival in the Midnight category. And thank you so much to Hannah and Siri and Sophia for joining us today. We'll be back with more In the Can after this. Welcome back to In the Can. Right now we are joined by Peter Baxter, the president and co-founder of the Slamdance Film Festival. It's been quite a past couple of years and festivals, but Slamdance is an incredible place where films get known and some exposure. Hope that you will definitely not miss out on seeing these great films at the festival. Peter, how are you today?
Great. Good morning, everybody.
So tell me about the festival this year. I know like the Sundance Film Festival has undergone some last minute changes, but tell me about the format.
Yeah, so we decided earlier on that in December that would be best not to, unfortunately, come to Park City this January. But what we've done is that we told our filmmakers that, we're sorry, we can't do Sundance safely in Park City this year, but what we can do is put all our energy into the showcase online. And we have a new Slamdance channel where we're showcasing then the festival this year. We're really excited about that. And what we experimented last year with was an online showcase, and it reached a new audience for Slamdance. It was amazing. And so we straight away after the festival last year started working on the channel, which really is a major expansion of what Slamdance does. And one of the big things that we've included in the channel this year is an accessible all-access pass for $10. So anyone then can see all of Slamdance for $10 online this year, which is really important for inclusionary filmmaking and for accessibility. And we've seen the results of that with a massive new audience for Slamdance. So we're really excited about that.
That's an incredible deal, a great opportunity. And the films that you select for this festival are always just very incredible films. And looking forward to seeing that. Virtual really expands the footprint, expands the amount of audience, people that you have to join in on the festival. If someone isn't familiar with how the Slamdance Festival is different from Sundance, kind of explain that and the origins of the festival.
Sure, yes. Well, just very simply, way back when we tried to get our films into the Sundance Film Festival and we weren't successful. So instead of trotting off with our tails between our legs, we decided to come together as a group of filmmakers and to showcase our films together for the first Slamdance. We thought it would be the last Slamdance. We thought it would be the first and the last of our endeavors to showcase our own work. But we quickly realized there were lots of other filmmakers like us that wanted an opportunity to show their new work to an audience and to an industry audience as well, which has become really important at Slamdance over the years. And so we decided then that we would continue, and we remain an artist-led organization. So all of the films that have been programmed this year's Slamdance are programmed by alumni who have been at the festival and come back and support our community and grow our community. And so this is very much, as we say, a by filmmaker for filmmaker enterprise where artists themselves get to discover and then bring out and share with the audience these great new filmmakers. And many of them have actually shaped our cultural future. So this is the festival where Chris Nolan first showed his work, the Russo brothers, Rian Johnson, more recently with Murari Garima, and so on. Many, many filmmakers have come into Park City, gone down the hallway at Treasure Mountain Inn and showed their work, shared their work to the audience there, and have gone on then to really change the entertainment industry. So that's what makes Slamdance really exciting, is that you get to see the promise of this new filmmaking talent, wherever they are, wherever they're coming from around the world. Come to Slamdance and you're seeing something new. And really, I think the future of filmmaking. So we focus very much then on the grassroots of filmmaking, the new, and the promise of the future of filmmaking.
And Peter, tell me more about the specific selection criteria that filmmakers need to be aware of that they have in order to submit a film to this festival.
Yeah, well, the feature film competition, it's for first-time directors. So that's, again, the focus is to support emerging filmmakers. But if you're a short filmmaker, that's not necessarily the case. You could have made other short films before. But nonetheless, you're coming up, and as a short filmmaker, you're showcasing then your new work. Many filmmakers have just come out of film school. But, there are also filmmakers that have had other careers and come into filmmaking more recently. And it's the promise of the new, whether it's a short film or whether it's a feature film. And I think this is what makes, Slamdance really exciting. There are very few rules at Slamdance. There's no budget constraints. Usually the budgets are very low budgets. The films don't have distribution. Obviously that's the purpose of Slamdance, is to support the new filmmakers, to actually help them find distribution for their works. But we try and keep rules and regulations down to the minimum at Slamdance. And it's great, really, because the community, the filmmakers themselves that lead Slamdance, they're continually experimenting and questioning sort of how we program. We come together and discuss changes. But what you're already seeing is a unfiltered showcase of independent work. And that's what I think makes Slamdance really exciting.
And Peter, what can you tell me about the program and some of the films that are coming out this year as part of the festival?
Well, we're really excited, actually. We're doing this unusual thing at Slamdance this year. We actually have 2 opening films. The Civil Dead, which is a great comedy directed by Clay Tatum. And also, we are seeing an expansion of the Unstoppable program. So last year, we started a program called Unstoppable, which is for creators who have visible and non-invisible disability. And the programmers themselves also have disability. And we have expanded this program this year to include features. And one of our opening night films then is called Straighten Up and Fly Right, by Christine Abate and Stephen Tenenbaum. And we're really excited then, not only about the expansion of Unstoppable, but also showcasing this film as our opening night film. I think with Unstoppable, it's a really important showcase development for Slamdance, because the entertainment industry is not really recognizing the creators with disability, and they are our future storytellers. And we have focused then this Unstoppable program on supporting these creators and trying to make change in the entertainment industry to make sure that they are properly being recognized for their creative endeavors. So this is a really exciting development at Slamdance, and the programmers are really happy to see this as part of the opening night program.
And Peter, remind me of the dates of the festival and where we need to go to make sure that we get our tickets and we can watch these great films.
Yeah, so this year it's a little bit different. We're not coinciding with Sundance. So our festival dates are January the 27th to February the 6th. And as I mentioned before, we're an accessible film festival, and you can buy your pass and see everything at Slamdance, including live Q&As and special events, for just $10. And you can go to the Slamdance channel, slamdancechannel.com, to get that. And have a look around there. And also, please subscribe to the channel afterwards and see these amazing films that are coming through the Slamdance Film Festival.
Well, thank you so much, Peter Baxter, President and co-founder of the Slamdance Film Festival, for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you in person when the time is right. But in the meantime, make sure that you head to the Slamdance website. You can get your tickets, learn more about that unique festival. And we'll also be covering and talking to some filmmakers that have their films in that festival this year. So you want to make sure you don't miss out on that. We'll be back with more in the can after this. Welcome back to In the Can. Right now, I have the opportunity to speak with the director of Last Flight Home. Ondi Timoner is here joining us virtually. And before we get to our discussion about this incredible film, I'm going to play a clip from it right now. Let's take a look.
Eli was a philanthropist. He was named a pillar of society by United Way because he gave to everybody. It's no wonder Eli feels he could get his plan to Joe Biden because he knows Joe Biden from the 70s.
Why not just try a little kindness, try a little kindness.
Eli started an airline and it became the fastest growing airline in the world. Eli believed everyone in America should be able to afford to fly and travel. So he testified many times before Congress, pushing deregulation to be able to lower the airfares. And deregulation passed. And he immediately offered a flight to New York for $49 and London for $175 when everybody else was charging $800. And he had the first class passengers picked up by Rolls Royces with boxes of Godiva chocolates waiting for them in the car. There wasn't an empty seat, and they became the fastest growing airline in the world. They just kept buying more planes and flying more people. Even though he ran an airline, he let me sleep in the morning, and he would drive the carpool, get the kids to school. The mothers who were part of the carpool couldn't believe it. Here's Eli Timoner, who's on television a good part of the time, driving the carpool.
Mr. Timoner, you're a small, no-frills airline also. Are you concerned that the big boys are going to drive you out of business?
No.
No?
No. He ran that morning, and he also ran an Air Florida meeting with all the employees in the theater, telling them my door is always open. And then we went for his massage, and life changed forever.
Ondi is the director of this film about her dad, about his life, and specifically his death. Ondi, thanks for being here today. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. I had the opportunity to watch this film, very emotional. Tell me what made you decide to focus a film on the life of your father, but also really specifically on his death.
Well, I actually didn't intend to make the film. I was wanting to bottle him up because I was so scared to lose him. And this was the only way I knew how to do that. It was really something where I just have been a filmmaker for 30 years. And when I love something or appreciate it, or I'm trying to figure it out, I set up cameras, and that's just what I couldn't help but do in this case. And it worked. I mean, I actually really did bottle him up, and it was just beautiful to be editing the film and spending time with him. He was making me laugh late into the night and cry, and he was right there, almost like alive inside the Avid. It's been the same for my mother, who watches it anytime she misses him, which is often. He was just an extraordinary man, So when I went to go cut a memorial video a couple weeks after he died, I realized very quickly that he was someone who we all should meet, that he was what happened there was so profound, and the process and the importance of also the right to die was something that I felt obligated, because I didn't even know there was that right in California. We didn't know that. My brother found out, and then found a hospice that would do that. And it was very important to my father. So for terminally ill people, I think it is very important. And I hope the film helps in that way too. But yeah, it just felt like, even though it's our most intimate, personal, vulnerable moments, it felt like if we shared it, it might really help people. So.
The film primarily focuses on specifically your father's last 2 weeks. And this is happening, so there's many, as you mentioned, very intimate details. Was it difficult to edit it? Was it hard seeing that again? Did it help you with your grief? And how did you decide what to include, especially of those last 2 weeks, and what to leave out?
So I've never had a film flow through me like this. It was just extraordinary. By the time my father was passed for 6 months, there was a feature-length film. It was like it couldn't even be held back. The structure was very clear. Of course, I wanted to maintain his dignity, so I left out some of the more, Well, I kept in a lot. I really let people into the room and into the family. It is definitely one of the most intimate films I've ever seen, and certainly the most intimate film I've ever made. In terms of what, it's a balance. There's so much humor in the film, and that's really important to balance out the tears. But, we had a screening here at the Sundance Resort yesterday, and we felt as a family that we needed to launch Dad's legacy of loving kindness together. And we have deep friends here in Utah because I made my movie Coming Clean here about the opioid epidemic. And so former Congressman Ben McAdams and Geraldine Dreyfus hosted this screening, and the response from the audience, again, this is like the third time I've seen the film scream with an audience. I've never seen a reaction like this. It is so intensely personal for every single person, and so meaningful to people. I'm so glad I did it. It's terrifying for me a little bit because I'm used to making movies like, Dig and We Live in Public, which played Sundance here and won Sundance, and they're not, I'm not in them. I'm in them for like a second, and they're deep verite films, but they're not turning the camera on my family and my father in his last days, But when I think, and this was true for my whole family, because we did our first ever Q&A, they were just amazed at how much it meant to people to see this movie. Because we all go through this. If we're lucky, we bury our parents and they don't bury us, but we all go through this horrible transition that has to happen, that we are scared of as a society, and it doesn't have to be horrible. That's the thing. There is such a thing as a good death, and death is maybe something that we should look at and embrace more, and make into something beautiful. And the only way to start doing that is by looking at it and talking about it. So
we saw in the clip what an incredible life, just a portion of some of the great successes that your father had throughout his life. And towards the end of the film, it really comes out that he still felt some shame, but realized in those final 2 weeks how important family is. I don't think I'm giving too much away. Just a very powerful, very moving film, as you mentioned. How can we make sure that we see it? How can we follow along with other things that you're doing as a filmmaker as well?
So the film is Last Flight Home, and we have Last Flight Home on Instagram and Facebook, and, we're just starting. So, it would be awesome to follow us. And I'm Ondi Timoner on all those sites as well. And then this is Interloper Films, and we'll have some information. We have a Last Flight Home landing page on our website at interloperfilms.com, and please sign up and we'll keep you notified about what happens with the film for sure. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Ondi, for being here today. I really appreciate this discussion about the film Last Flight Home. You can watch it throughout the festival. It has screenings on January 24th and 26th. So you can head to the Sundance Film Festival website and buy tickets for those screenings, and also follow along with Ondi and that film through other ways, through social media. Really powerful. I'm very grateful that Ondi took the time to talk with us this morning all about the life of her father and his death. We'll be back with more on In the Can right after this.
Welcome back. We are here and we are about to talk with some of the cast and directors and writers of an incredible film, Emergency. It was one of the opening films of Sundance Festival. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. How are you? Doing well. So I am so excited here. Carrie, tell me a little bit about this film, and it's getting a lot of buzz in the Sundance Festival, so tell us more about it. This film, Emergency, is a wonderful film. I think we've got a little bit of technical difficulties here, but.
Oh, hi, I'm Katie.
How are you, Katie? Thanks for joining
Carrie
us this
comes
morning.
Back. Hi, I'm the writer of the film. I'm Katie Davila.
So tell us about the film.
Yeah, so the film is called Emergency. It's have you had the chance to see it? I don't know if you've had the chance to see it, but it's a comedy, dark comedy thriller, and it's kind of one night adventure about two Black guys and one Latino guy who come home to their apartment and find an unconscious white girl on their floor. So, mysterious young white girl, and they have to decide what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do about this? So,
as the writer of this film, what inspired it, and why did you choose to pick such a sensitive topic right now?
Yeah, good question. So I'm Mexican American. I'm from Los Angeles, and I grew up as kind of one of the pale people in my family. And growing up, I saw this phenomenon where my dad and other men in my big Latino family had to do this strange calculus every time that we went anywhere, considering how they're being perceived. And do I seem like a threat right now? What can I do to not seem like a threat? And even if you're twisting yourself into pretzels, trying to make sure you look harmless, you can still get pulled over and searched because you match the description of a suspect. And so this movie is about that sort of phenomenon. It's about that idea of you keep trying to anticipate what you're going to be perceived like, and so you keep trying to anticipate that and make sure that you don't seem weird, and then you seem weirder because you keep trying to not seem weird, if that makes sense. So we watch the domino effect over the course of this one night as these guys try to figure out what they're gonna do. So anyway, that's kind of why.
Well, Katie,
why I did it.
The film is definitely generating a lot of excitement here, and I know that there are big things coming down the pipe for it. So talk to me how you got connected with Carrie, the director of the film, and what that process was like working alongside him.
Yeah, so Carrie, I know that he's having technical difficulties right now, so I'm sorry he can't speak for himself, but we met in a program called Project Involve at Film Independent a couple of years ago, actually. And we made a short film together that was called Emergency, and it was based on the same sort of idea. And I mean, we met in that program, and it's funny because the way we got to work together was partly luck. And I mean, it's really fortunate that we got to collaborate together, because it was just, I don't know, finding a collaborator, a director writer sort of collaborating pair is, I think, a rare experience to find people who click so well. And we clicked so well on the short film that we decided, hey, we'll do the feature together. And it was kind of funny just because throughout the course of pitching the feature, we wanted to make sure that it was something that was going to be true to the short, walking that tonal line of comedy and thriller is not an easy thing, especially when you're dealing with subject matter that's pretty, sensitive. And so we wanted to make sure we were doing it right. So it took a little while to develop the idea. But then, we took it out there, and we were fortunate enough to find Temple Hill and Amazon to do the project with, and they really were supportive of our vision and let us do what we wanted to do. And, it's a pleasure to be at Sundance now. It's kind of surreal, to be honest.
Oh, Katie, you mentioned that you worked together, and this was originally a short film. This just one last question around the creation of this incredible feature. How did you decide to take it from short into a full-length feature film?
That's actually kind of a funny story too. So I didn't originally, Carrie and I, we made the short as a standalone short. So we wanted it, as a short film. A lot of people do make short films with the intention of making them into a feature film, but we just really wanted to make a really solid standalone story as the short film. And so we did that, and then it went surprisingly well at festivals. We took it to Sundance and South by Southwest, and we ended up winning prizes, and that was a hugely pleasant surprise for us. We had not expected it to go as far as it did, and it was about when we were at Sundance and we won the special jury prize, which was like mind-blowingly amazing. And people started asking us where's the feature film? And it was really funny because Carrie was like, he said like in the middle of some kind of public interview sort of setting, they were like, are you working on the feature film? And he was like, yes, we're working on it right now. And I was like, oh, I guess I should be working on the feature film. So it did take a little bit of time to for me to actually conceive of what the feature should be. And Carrie and I talked about it a lot, just like we wanted to make sure that it deserved to be a feature, because, you know, trying to keep that tension for an entire movie is different than doing it in a short. And so, you know, it was important to us that it felt that we felt that tension could be sustained. And so we came up with the idea that it would all take place in one night, and keeping that sort of real-time feel that we had in the short film. So that was kind of the genesis of the feature. It was just Carrie putting me on blast by surprise. Oh, I think his sound works now. At least I can hear him, so.
Hey, sorry about that, y'all. I finally was able to get it to work. It's too early.
Yeah,
It's not working
apparently.
for me.
Well, we appreciate you both joining us. And Katie, thank you for sharing a little bit more as to the origin, the reason behind the film, and the excitement that it is. We thank you so much, and we are very excited. For all of our viewers out there, you can actually catch this film on the Sundance website, as well as in theaters May 20th and on Amazon Prime Video May 27th. We will be right back after this break.
Welcome back. Right now we're going to focus on the Blackhouse Foundation and its presence at the film festival. Joining us is Brickson Diamond and Jenean Glover. The Blackhouse Foundation gives Black creatives voices and resources in the film, television, digital industries. Very happy about everything they do at the festival and more. And Brickson, let's start with you. You're a founding member of the Blackhouse Foundation. And it's been here at the festival for 15 years. Tell me more about the involvement and how the Blackhouse Foundation has evolved over those years.
Certainly. Well, it's good to be with you. It's sad not to be in Park City with everybody, or no one from the festival. But we've been around, quite frankly, before we were founded in 2007 on the ground. We were folks who came to the festival and just saw an opportunity to create more diversity in the streets, in the screening rooms, theaters, and on the screens themselves. And so we've seen a fantastic growth in the number of Black creatives who've had content in the festival, films, and I say content because in the early days it was films, and then episodic, VR, and so all sorts of opportunities and spaces to see different creators come to Park City, either in person or virtually, and be a part of the festival. And a much richer experience, I think, for those who are both attending and acquiring content for the world to see.
Jenean, you're the executive director of the Blackhouse Foundation. Tell me more about the mission and objectives of this great foundation.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. I actually attended Sundance in 2007 when the Blackhouse started, and I was in a different role. I was a talent agent, and it was just interesting to see that there was not very much diversity. When you fast forward to where we are today, it's amazing that the Blackhouse has done what it's done. So I'm excited about moving that forward. So 15 years ago, it was about diversifying films and making sure that the landscape in Park City reflected the community from which we were, the community we're from, and the stories we were telling. Now it's about looking at different ways for new platforms for all these multi-content creators that they're using, new technologies. It's about moving forward in the next step. So I love that the Sundance Film Festival has the next frontier, because New Frontier, that's what we're looking at every day. It's not really new anymore. It's here to stay. So as Brickson mentioned, we're not just talking about film and television anymore. People are creating more content, and in particular, short films. Short films have helped really get this festival moving, because during the pandemic, people couldn't do what they would normally do, or that weren't available, and resources were limited. So I am looking forward to transformation in this next 15 years moving forward. Thank you.
Brickson, you've been here in our studio in the past, very much, as you mentioned, we miss seeing you in person. And considering the pandemic and the past now a couple of years, how has the Blackhouse Foundation changed and been able to continue your mission despite the challenges of the pandemic?
So it's amazing to think about, sort of the dichotomies that exist in this pandemic. So you have just the suffering and the isolation and the terrible conditions and loss that we've experienced, but you've also had new sort of standards of connectivity. And so we've taken advantage of that and converted the programs that we had beyond Sundance, which was our mid-career producers lab, which engaged 7 women a year and brought them into Los Angeles and New York and sat them down in companies and in distributors' seats. And now we're able to do that virtually. So we're able to scale that. And so we had a Black Muslim Screenwriters Lab with the Muslim Public Affairs Council Los Angeles Bureau, where we impacted and workshopped 5 scripts for Black Muslim screenwriters in television, and so episodic and feature. We've increased our scope even beyond the US to the International Writers Lab, which had a series of fellows in Kenya, in Nairobi, Kenya, who were able to workshop and put in front of folks in a pitch session in a really powerful way. And last but not least, we had a fellows program where we brought 10 MFAs to Park City each year to work with us and to learn about the business. And with Meta, Facebook, we're able to scale that to 100 student filmmakers who we engaged across the full year, 5 of whom received $20,000 grants each to make short films, which Facebook's Scene is amplifying. And then we had, goes on and on and on. But so our reach, again, to folks we were already connected to and even well beyond across continents has been expanded in the pandemic and through the facility we've gotten through digital platforms and people's comfort with Zoom and all sorts of forms of being in the Brady Bunch box.
And Jenean, this is your 3rd day of festival programs and events, virtual ones, for the Sundance Film Festival. Looking back at the past 2 days, tell me about some of the things that you've been able to do.
Oh, wow. So you'd think that you wouldn't be able to see the films that you want, but once again, they're right at our fingertips. So even with this quick pivot that had to happen this year, codes allow you to, change those tickets that you have for in person to certain screenings. And I have to say, there's some amazing films that I've been able to take advantage of seeing. From documentaries, I have to say, one of my favorites is Descendant. It is so informative. It is such an amazing film on history, and I think it's timely. But more than anything, what I've noticed in the last couple of days are panels and access. So, if we were on the ground in Park City, we would have somewhere between 13 and 15,000 visitors. That's what it was back in the day. But in this new medium, in the past 2 days, we are really reaching a lot of people and expanding our audience to folks that wouldn't be able to make it to Park City on a normal day. So I like the interaction. I like being able to log in and maybe see a short film, log in and maybe hear a talk or hear some communication. In particular, we reached about last year when we were in the virtual realm, reached about 60,000 people. And we had a screening yesterday. And I said a talk back with the Descendant filmmakers, the Descendant movie that I just love and can't get enough of. We reached about 5,000 people. That was amazing because obviously we're not in Park City. So these 2 days show me that when you make a quick pivot and we're talking about technology in the digital realm, you don't lose anything. Yes, maybe we can't touch and feel, but the information is readily available. And as long as we have resources to get them, we should be okay moving forward. So excited that the Blackhouse Foundation is allowing the audience to be educated with films and talkbacks and conversations with, and that's a wonderful place to be. So look, the past 2 days have been great, and I'm looking forward to the rest. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Jenean and Brickson, for joining us today. You can find out more information about today, their final day of events virtually at theblackhouse.org. There are many things coming up, great opportunities to hear even more about what's happening and get even more resources. So make sure you head to that website. And we're excited to have them come back, hopefully in person next year, and once again be a part of the Sundance Film Festival. We'll be back here on In the Can with more right after this. Welcome back. Right now, I'm absolutely honored to be speaking with the director of I Didn't See You There, Reid Davenport. This is a film that you will not forget. You want to make sure that you see it. It will change the way you think about things, and I'm so much looking forward to talking to Reid more about it. Welcome to the show, Reid. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm doing well, and I was able to view your documentary. I was very touched and very moved. What made you decide to create this film? And it's a film about your life and what you encounter day to day. So tell me about that decision to make this personal.
Sure. I think like many of us, we wonder how much of our experience is unique and how much of it is more universal. And I wanted to explore that question by shooting a film from my literal perspective.
Tell me more about how you filmed this. How long did it take? When did you actually film this? What equipment did you use? And also, another follow-up question to that is how you edited it, because some of those transitions that you utilized were just really incredible.
Well, first of all, I didn't edit it. We have a magnificent editor, Todd Chandler, and Todd actually, he came up with those transitions and just, it was amazingly innovative. And Todd is actually a musician, and I think he edited this second song. There are a lot of different verses, but all in the same melody, if you will. So I shot this film on a drone camera that I rubber banded to my wheelchair. The drone camera is called DJI Osmo, and it's very steady, and I can control it via an app, either on my phone or my tablet.
And what, Reid, changes would you like to see as a result of this film? It really makes you think about the challenges that you encounter in your day-to-day life and how it affects you and the decisions you make. But what do you hope comes about because of this film?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. This film, like many films, is a piece of art, and it's not tied to a specific piece of legislation or social issue. So I'm not really sure what I could say about what I want it to do, but I would like people to see it.
We showed a clip from the film which has a circus tent in that clip, and that ended up being quite a symbol within the film, and also ties into the title, I Didn't See You There. Really having that tent there and focusing on your feelings about how your life is similar to that of a circus was very powerful. Tell me a little more about that.
Sure. I mean, like a lot of disabled people, I am subject to stares when I'm in public, and conversely, I am invisible when I want to be seen. And I think this is directly related to the institution of the freak show. The freak show was not a cause, but a symptom of the ableist society that we still have today. So even though the surface of the freak shows are gone, there are still many lingering consequences of ableism that were manifested in the freak show years ago.
There's a powerful conversation in the film that you have with your mom, I believe, where you mentioned that you don't think you will make another personal film. So what is next for you, and what do you hope to work on after this?
Sure, I'm currently making a film that explores the question of assisted suicide through a disability lens and how disabled people have and continue to die under the guise of assisted suicide.
And how can we make sure to follow along with you in your life? And we don't want to miss out on seeing this incredible film. So how can we make sure we see it?
Yeah, the film's website is film.com. You can sign up for our newsletter and we'll keep you posted.
Well, thank you so much, Reid Davenport, director of I Didn't See You There, for being here. Such an honor speaking with you. I loved your film. I encourage everyone to go and see the film and really think about what you can do to make changes, to be able to make sure that people with disabilities are not discriminated against. So thank you so much to Reid for being here today. You can head to Sundance Film Festival's website to make sure that you see that film. Thanks again for being here. And we've come to the end of our show for today, In the Can. We'll be back tomorrow with more In the Can at 7 a.m. Thank you so much, Kimberly, for being here today. It's been a great show, I think.
It really has so many interesting films and movies to watch, and I have a long list of things that I'll be doing this afternoon.
Yeah, definitely. And once again, I really enjoy the variety of the films that come to this festival and the ones that we've been able to cover, and really appreciate everyone's time to get up early and to join us in different time zones and talk to us about their films. It's been really a pleasure.
It really has so much diversity and unique storytelling, so it's a great festival this year.
And it really is. I hope that wherever you are, you can tune into a film and tune into our show once again tomorrow at 7 a.m. In the meantime, thanks for watching and have a great day.